Hi, Leloba. Great to have you here.
Hey, Levin. Good to see you too.
Welcome. Thank you so much for spending time with us and telling us about this super exciting project that you're working on. But before we go there, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Leloba Pahl. I am a certified leadership coach, and I'm also a learning and development expert. So I do a lot of work related to creating learning experiences for professionals and just a lot of people looking to do these transitions in their career. Big AI transitions are what's happening now, but of course, there's the whole person that we have to attend to, and it's not just about what we're doing with our careers. So, yeah, happy to have met you not so long ago, about a year ago, up in Berlin. So that was a huge, I would say, life-changing moment for me in terms of being a coach that really wanted to bring AI into her practice.
Exactly. I think we've met last year, early summer, in Berlin for the New Workforce Summit, and then we reconnected after I think you put a lot of thought and design into what could be a great AI augmented coaching leadership program at the ICF Member Day in Stuttgart. I remember this was the second touch point where we got really concrete and where you actually brought forward the project, which I got immediately excited about. So tell us a little bit more about what makes your project so special and who is it designed for?
Sure. Well, we were looking at Lesedi AI, and Lesedi means light, illumination in the language of Setswana from Botswana. And I was really looking to see how could I take my practice as a coach and find ways to bring the cost down for a lot of people saying, I want this, I need this. A lot of people in humanitarian and development work who just haven't had that as an offer to them from their organizations. That money moves differently in those kind of industries. So coaching was reserved for the executives. It was reserved for top managers, and it wasn't for everybody in the field. And this made plenty of sense to me. And I was very surprised when talking to you that this is just a blind spot. This isn't something that people are looking at. But I know that from our conversations, you saw the same thing. You saw this critical gap in AI and coaching, that people weren't filling that space. So I felt like the pioneering work that you were doing was really a perfect timing for me trying to get mm, people's needs in a different light. And what I mean by that is we usually just talk about that professional side. As an internal coach, I was working for the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, and you had a bent towards all out crisis mode all the time. You don't have time to sit and think about what you need. If you have a need, it's got to be a professional need. So that whole person is just completely pushed to the side. And when you bring in your personal needs, your professional side by side, then you can start to address these well-being issues. You can start to look at where your career trajectory is going and these fallacies that we believe that we should constantly be moving on this success ladder or success elevator, the escalator going up when it looks like this in humanitarian work. One contract to the next, to the next. A lot of people think there's something wrong with them, and there isn't. So I would like to bring just that space for reflection, that space for thought into humanitarian work. And really, I came to you with that goal of can I reach 100,000 humanitarians? And then I thought with CoachBot, maybe if I started out even just trying to reach 10,000, that would be great.
Wow. Yeah, I have goosebumps. What a powerful mission. Thank you so much for also sharing a little bit of your background and the vision. And yeah, 100,000 humanitarian, that would be a fantastic achievement. Tell us a little bit what where are you in the project right now? What are the findings? Where do people see benefits in using your AI augmented offering?
Yes, I think what was really nice, just I think water flowing downhill we had an opportunity that popped up with the Association for the Advancement of Artificial Intelligence, AAAI, and I came to you and said, "Hey, we have this chance to also look at the Spring Symposium 2026 and to do a presentation." This was for specifically AI and humanitarian and disaster relief. And we went track two. Track one was for research. Track two was for people presenting on topics relevant to that field. And I just really want to thank the organizers for accepting our submission. And the organizers are people from Texas A&M University, from UC San Diego, UC Berkeley, MIT, Lehigh University. And I think they could also see that this is something that um, uh, really gets away from not only looking at humanitarian and disaster relief from logistics, supply chain, um, data sensing, remote sensing. This is not the only area that we need to think of. We need to think of people and the humans behind all of this. So when we think about Lesedi AI, we're looking at human-centered principles. We're looking behind the scenes. Um, if we think about what that first feedback, that initial feedback was, it was overwhelmingly positive. We took the opportunity with the symposium to go ahead and ask some people some very targeted questions, not just to play around anymore and to look at Lesedi AI and to try it out in between coaching sessions. Stop, give us some structured feedback, and what did that look like? So we had a few moments there where I think some very clear trust issues came out. People will use generative AI anyway if they didn't have a protected space like CoachBot that is focused on the ethics. We have some really interesting dynamics right now here on the forefront where you can see, and I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this too, beyond Lesedi AI, where people understand that their data is being used by big tech in unprotected spaces when we use, for example, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, anything that's out there right now, Mistral. If you're just typing into the chatbot, what is it? Where is that information going? So the ethics are swirling around, but when you talk to people about it, they say, I'm uncomfortable with that happening. But if you present them with a paid version that is more secure, will they use the paid version? So you have these issues where people say, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like my data being recorded, but they have to make these choices about paid or unpaid version. So that's an interesting little piece that popped up. And really the trust element, just if I can dig on that one for just a moment too. The feedback was that the human mediation of the AI legitimacy is key here. So if I am the person who's coming in as the coach and suggesting that they use CoachBot, these individuals are much more likely to trust this platform versus somebody who goes in, just dabbles a little bit and uses a CoachBot for a while and then stops on their own accord. So there was a huge leap in trust as soon as somebody decided to have a human practitioner lead them in rather than just deciding to use it themselves. Is there anything that you wanted to comment on that? Maybe something you wanted to add?
There's a lot to add, but first of all, thank you so much for sharing all of that. So I think what I want to pick before I go into the trust topic is it was remarkable to see your investment into this project and also present Lesedi at the symposium. This was actually a big weekend shift for both of us while making sure our kids are also spending enough quality time with us. But yeah, th this commitment really shows how dedicated you are about the impact that such a project will have on people, especially those who do not get this type of support on a regular base by the organizations which they're providing aid for. So kudos to you. And yeah, the trust topic is fundamental. It's probably the most critical thing to design with care and with the right expectation setting and the right knowledge about your audience before going into building. And here I want to call out that you are among the few coaching leaders that I was lucky and am lucky to work with that have invested also tremendous amount of time into upskilling when it comes to AI. So I want to call out here also your work that you're doing with the Viva La Coaching Academy, where you are investing money and time into learning how to design conversational AI experiences on top of what you said, the human-centered work. And it's so easy to say the tool is ethical, the tool is human-centered, and people are like, oh yeah, another marketing buzzword. But the people who walk the talk and who actually go the long way, the long route of doing, a 2 month of partially a 6 month training to learn even how to design their first AI tool, and then spend 3 months thinking about what is the tool that I'm building, who is it for, what are those people current experiences in the work life, in the private life with AI, and making sense of all those assumptions, validating, testing, going a step further and bringing it all together. And I know you've spent also tremendous time in looking at the right coaching infrastructure provider when it comes to AI. So it was also very great to see that you know the options out there, that you care about how is IP protected, how is sensitive data protected, where is data stored, what are third parties that are involved, and so forth. And um, this all is a combination of trust, and this trust leads eventually to user adoption. If I don't trust my coach because I feel judged, I cannot open up. I cannot bring the real me with the real challenges, the emotional situation of the inner child, of the inner world, yeah. And if we want to exit that, this inner engineering that leads us to actually improving our lives and how we kind of perceive our lives, this only works with trust. So I can call out what you're doing really well is the prompt design. First of all, we talked about this. What you really do well is the combination of human coaching with AI augmentation. So the fact that you have built a tool based on your experience for your audience, combine it with your human coaching work, and then present it as the human to the audience with setting the right expectations, giving them the right prompts, showing them how to use it, that makes a huge difference. And then the AI can really play to its strength. You talked about it's available when they need it, in between, kind of coaching sessions, but also in the context of their job, which is oftentimes crisis mode. There is not a lot of time to ask for help, to look for a professional, to wait for them to be available. They need help instantly.
Yeah.
And all of that coming together is then really a game changer. And if they have the certainty that you have communicated to them with, hey, we're working here under Germany's privacy standards, which is, the global gold standard. We're not only looking at GDPR, but also the EU AI Act. And in many times, CoachBot AI is so dedicated to the topic of responsible AI that we're going a step further. And we're making sure we're not using the data to fine-tune models of it. We're giving the user the authority and the kind of freedom to look into what is the data that we're storing. And they have very easily ways to unselect certain conversations, to delete certain conversations in order to make sure that whatever is being stored feels good to them. And only with this trust, this magic can happen. And yeah, I know that you are very committed to the topic of transparency and ethics, and we are too. So I feel from that angle, we're the perfect match. And maybe tell people a little bit more about who has been using the tool so far and what has been the quantified results from our surveys and assessments.
Yes, it's nice to hear what you're saying about the legal framework as well that exists because we know it's just really so early in these stages. So when we look at who's using it, the humanitarians, the international development colleagues, the former colleagues of mine that have been able to use it, We are talking about small numbers right now. We would like to, of course, see bigger numbers. The number of people that looked at the Lesedi AI CoachBot in that 2 week time period of our study were 27 people. And what we wanted to do was to give them a chance to really give some solid feedback. We had 29 conversations, 12 survey responses, and I also did 4 key informant interviews. The feedback that came back out of those two were really just aimed at user experience, perceived usefulness, the trust and transparency of as we've just touched upon, and the risk of over-reliance. And on that point as well, the risk of over-reliance was key for us, that we didn't want to suck people in and make them dependent on Lesedi AI in any way. So I found this to be a huge piece when selecting who I was going to go with as well. I absolutely did not want to have people becoming addicted to that reassurance loop, to that feeling of I need that. I want to feel that that false affirmation. And we know this is a constant problem with other chatbots, with other agents, and not stopping the conversation. So this is a hallmark of Lesedi AI as well. So these opportunities for future adaptation were central to part of our methods as well. So we're looking at scalability and under-resourcing when it comes to our results here of the feedback that we got. The users really emphasized the chronic under-resourcing of mental health and reflective support in any humanitarian disaster relief environment. Many described Lesedi AI as being kind of like a bridge or a stopgap that could be something to provide accessible support when human coaching wasn't available. So that time that we keep referring to when humans aren't available is real if you're not working 9 to 5. Sometimes it feels like a 24-hour job. And it wasn't only humanitarians that jumped onto Lesedi. We had a couple of people from the health industry and also from learning and development that jumped in there as well. So I think there are some similarities for sure in the health industry, that same kind of 24-hour mentality, just depending on when your shift falls on that day. But really, just expanding access to reflective and professional support for humanitarian disaster relief practitioners that are often excluded due to cost, geography, organizational capacity. This was recognized as a benefit. And some other survey responses. We had just on a Likert scale, just looking at some averages, we had the system respected boundaries, and we looked at the system felt safe and appropriate. The system asked helpful questions. And on a scale of 0 to 5, we were in that range of 3.5 to 4. Also, I would consider using a tool like this again. So I think these are just some really basic feedback that's very helpful. And I would also say that 83%, that was 10 out of 12 of the users that responded, said that the system respected boundaries and didn't give inappropriate advice. And I think these are those things that we're looking at when we dug into the key informant interviews too, and we say, 83%. So what was deemed inappropriate advice out of anybody who thought it was inappropriate? And it's coming back around to what you would do as a human coach versus what AI was able to do. And the human coach would know, hey, let's just pause for a minute and check in on this person's energy and see how they feel. And the AI can't do that. And if it just goes ahead and tries that once in a while, it just feels a little false. And our colleague Rebecca Ruchman over at Viva La Coaching recently wrote a great article that was talking about what that feels like for people right now. and she mentioned the uncanny valley. And that really resonated with me. Just this gap that we recall from robotics a long time ago when robotics started to take the forefront and be the newest technology. Could that take the place of humans in different ways? And what we're really trying to do with Lesedi AI is not replace the human here. So on purpose, as Rebecca was saying, she didn't clone herself when she started to look at her AI agent in regard to AI and coaching. She didn't make herself. I also didn't even want a human face to be there. I didn't want to clone myself, and I didn't want there to be a human face. This is that strange feeling that people were trying to describe. So Lesedi doesn't go over these negative boundaries, doesn't provide inappropriate advice, but there's something still there that you can tell, was that the way that I would have wanted somebody to really interact with me at that moment? So these are the things that I think are at the forefront of what we're trying to work on too, as we refine the prompt and take a look closer at those reassurance loops and things like that that we can tone down even more.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think you're about 8 weeks into your builder journey, your actual implementation journey. So it's fairly early for the ZD AI. I think we always want to be fair that building AI augmentation for learning and development is not a 30-minute exercise. It's actually something, yeah, we're doing a little research project here, right? We're looking at who's the right audience to test for certain things. We're taking on feedback after they've tested, and then we go back into another version. And yeah, we're very lucky to have this symposium coming up in April to present our first status of findings to the world. And then what's next, Liloba? What do you want to share maybe as the key next steps for you and Lesedi AI?
Yeah, thanks. I think one of the biggest pieces for me is just really better defining together in a bigger community of people working on AI and coaching, um, just those boundaries of where human to human needs still exist. I appreciate the work that you've done, Levin, with CoachBot and the community that you've brought together. And the same thing with Viva La Coaching, bringing together builders, bringing together thinkers, and people who are just saying, we can do this together much better than we can do it on our own. And, users really strongly agree that certain domains remain human. They remain human led. And I think that's the message a lot of people need to hear. If it has to do with self-harm or trauma, grief, if it's moral injury or acute distress, these are things that we don't want Lesedi AI to handle. We don't want any agent that's an AI agent to handle that. There are spaces where people should still feel very comfortable in coming to a human and getting the support that they need. So I think that's one of the key areas that I'm going to continue to work on to try to get that message out there. And also I'll be working on those sycophancy reassurance loops, really making sure if I could just get Lesedi to ask that one question rather than two questions, that was such a challenge and such a hurdle for me. And having support in a community to be able to say, okay, we've tackled it. We can try this. We can try that. Sharing back and forth, better ways to do things. I think that really helps. And a huge piece for me that's much broader than just Lesedi AI is language in all of our AI models. And I'm talking about cultural responsiveness and diversity. People come from a huge range of life experiences. And if AI and the way that it seeks tokens, the way that the frequency of tokens determines what the output is, if that is determining all of the outputs, you can imagine what that looks like for somebody who speaks a language and only 50,000 people are speaking that language today. If only
Mhm.
1 million people are speaking that language today, whatever it is, 10 million people. So the smaller language groups and the way we all think differently in different languages are being crushed, are being left out. And I think that's a moment for me that I see also as a leadership coach. And I talk to lots of different people about their journeys. This is a main concern for us. So that's another area I'll be working on.
Awesome. Leloba, thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, good luck for the project. And yeah, maybe we do another check-in in half a year.
I think that sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Levin. Nice talking to you.
Bye.